because there ain't no
Well,
woman that's going to let you in their house if you don't have a website. I'm just saying.
and we looked at each other. We're like, this is something people would pay for. Welcome, everybody, to the Patrick Carr Show. I've got a very special guest here with me, someone I had an opportunity to work with a client. Now, if you follow this show, you know that we rarely have media people on. We always want to talk to people that are contractors or stuff, but this one's an exception. I've got Pam here. She's amazing. Explore Media. You're going to get an amazing amount of value from this conversation right here because she's an incredible person and she does amazing work. So stick around for this one. All right. Pam, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Patrick. I'm honored.
Hey, well, it's great. It's very rare that I have somebody within the same ecosystem. Can you walk me through for a beginner out there? Not saying they'd be right for your agency,
Right.
but what's the biggest bang for your buck if you're just getting started out there?
Yeah, I would say the biggest bang for your buck is one, having a website, because there ain't no woman that's going to let you in their house if you don't have a website. I'm just saying. And then the other piece I would say, for as far as the digital footprint, is your Google business profile. That's the most important thing because that's where you're getting reviews. And I think of it like this. Your website is what you own, right? But Google, whenever somebody comes and they search HVAC repair, AC repair, whatever, Google is deciding who they think is the best person for their client. So Google treats them as their client, and then they're gonna make recommendations. So having that Google business profile is like a website that Google owns about your business. And so they put more stock in that than they do in your website, which is interesting. So they're looking at, are you posting regularly on it? Are you getting reviews, at least once a week? Are you updating that? Are you putting photos out there? Do you have it backlinked with other resources? So they're checking to see your trust and authority there. So I would say those are the two biggest areas that you need to focus on, and get reviews. Get reviews. Did I mention get reviews?
Before I turn over to I want to talk about you personally and you're kind of just you and as a business owner, you just said something that struck me. No woman will let you in their house. And it strikes me because it's a very interesting way. I feel like maybe there's something a little deeper into the way you look at marketing, because I think when we think about contractors, we think about men, but we don't maybe sometimes think about who's making the decision within the house and who's allowed to be coming into that house. So I'm interested if there's a little bit of a deeper thought that you put into when you say that statement, because that was unique. It's women allowing you into the house.
Right. Well, and when we look at the profiles, it is 50-50 men and women that are making the phone calls, but it's typically the woman that's going to allow you in the house. And so if you have, I was talking to one HVAC owner just the other week, and he said, yeah, I'm really struggling finding employees. And his wife was there, and she goes, yeah. And he hired this meth head who didn't even have any clothes. We had to take him home and get him some clothes on. And I thought to myself, if that person had shown up at my house, I would have said, I'm sorry, I've got to go somewhere and you'll have to come back, because I would have felt really uncomfortable. Now, I don't have young kids in the house, but a lot of women do have they just are not going to feel comfortable with that. And even their own personal safety. We hear all kinds of stories out there about the world. And so it's a real thing. I was talking to an HVAC company the other day, and they were talking about the training that they give their guys. And one of the things that they do is they talk about being the person that says, instead of walking behind the woman, they'll say, tell me where your unit is. And then they'll walk first, because they feel like it makes the homeowner feel vulnerable when they're following behind, because they can't see them. And I thought that was really interesting. I never really thought about that, but they've obviously given that a lot of thought, because they've just put a lot of they've really defined that training process for their techs. Yeah.
I want to go into some of the strategies and the marketing side, because you're someone that I absolutely trust, but I want to talk about your opinion on marketing within, let's call it the blue collar space. There are a lot of marketing companies who maybe they're great with restaurants, or they might be great with athletes, or maybe in you name it. Do you find that they struggle to move over to the blue collar local space, or do you find that it just depends on the company itself? How important is understanding local market, blue collar businesses, or is it more just, do you know what you're doing or you don't know what you're doing?
Yeah, I think I can help you with that. So
Okay.
we have what we call a generalist agency. So in Montgomery, Alabama, we help a lot of different clients, real estate, medical, all kinds of different stuff. And what drives their business is really about brand awareness and being involved in the community. And so we understand that piece. But when you're talking about HVAC, mostly the clients that we take on, we give them exclusivity in their area. So, because like for instance, where I live in Auburn, Alabama, there are 150,000 ish people, and there's like 60, there were 67 HVAC companies, but three got sold. And so now there's just 64. But that is a lot of competition. So what we have found is that we are able to utilize, and we do have an HVAC contractor that's in the Auburn area,
Mhm.
a very large contractor, and we are able to use the learnings that we get from our Iowa guys and our Tennessee guys and our California guys. So we're able to take all of that information of people that are not their competitors, but in the same space. And it helps us build stronger ideas, and it helps us to kind of like symbiotically use all the learnings we get from all of those. And I mean, I've even said, hey, my guys in Georgia, I'll say, I got a guy in Iowa that has a military maintenance program, and it's doing really well. Have you considered doing that? And he's like, no, I hadn't thought about that. And we have a lot of military around here. So we take ideas that we get from and the same with them. We'll take an idea from another client and feed that to them. So I think while it's great to use your local people, there is some strength in using a niche agency to help you. If the niche agency is not just cycling you through some program, if they really are getting to know your business and has the curiosity enough to figure out what's the next big thing that's coming up.
What about the people who come to you who the immediate question they ask you, Pam, is, I want more leads?
All right.
This is one that I find very interesting because everybody wants leads, right? But I
Right.
think it's such a loaded question of, where do you want them? What type of lead? Do you want leads or do you want appointments? Do you want what kind of, like, I think there's so much more to that. And that to me is like such a loaded question when someone might come to your agency. Just how much is it going to cost for a lead to come to me?
Yeah. So we do track that, and there's different types of leads, and some are more expensive and some are not. We have pulled we've had a few people come to us from other agencies, and we'll see that they're doing stuff, but it's not pulling the right leads. Like they're getting a lot of people from China or India or crazy stuff, right? And so it is about the quality of who you're pulling from. And so a lot of what we'll do is dig in and say, okay, where are the affluent areas in your community? And that's where we really try to target a lot of our ad space. And it because we know that a lead from somebody that has a 4,000 square foot house that has at least 2 units, that's a much better lead than the person that's like, yeah, I just want a service call because I'm maxed out. I can't afford financing. I can't get a unit, right? So it's all about trying to make sure that you pull in the affluent leads, the ones that you can get more dollars per cost. And a lot of times the strategy that we use with people is and you and I have talked about the, 5 mile, I think that's what we call it, the being known. What do you
Yeah,
call that?
5 mile famous.
That's it, 5 mile famous. So they want to be 5 mile famous, but sometimes once they've penetrated and saturated that market, they've got to move out to another market. And there's a specific way to do that so that you can gain more market share digitally. And so we talk a lot about that. And I have one client, oh, actually, I'm Mike. And we have even talked about like where they are going to buy office space,
Mhm.
because it's so important to Google about proximity of where your Google business profile is. So we'll talk about like if they're moving an office or they're adding an office, where to do that at. I've got a person in in Iowa that we're not going to start running any Google business or local service ads until we're not going to add Google LSA until they have a certain number of reviews, because they would be disappointed with the results. So there's always a strategy behind how do you grow your business. We mostly work with people that are growing. If you're not growing, we're probably not the best agency for you.
I'm curious, you run a successful agency now. You mentioned the Inc. 5000. Congratulations on that earlier. I mean, that is no small feat at all. And I mean that sincerely. But there are a lot of business owners who may watch this and they think to themselves, I'm not there, Pam. And for someone who's had the success that you have, I'm wondering if you could take me back to a point where maybe it wasn't the Inc. 5000. And was there a point in your business where things weren't looking that great? And can you just kind of take me through some of those moments that got to where you're at right now?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I will say we started in 2006, and then 2008 was a really tough one. You know, a lot of businesses were closing down. That was a tough one. And then I had I had breast cancer, and I had 3 little kids, and it was kind of a lot. And I will say that having had the relationships that I did with my customers at the time, they stuck with me. But the other thing, and I'm sure we all have gone through this, was 2020. And I was like, oh no. And I remember my husband saying, we are not going down with this ship. Like, we're not piling a bunch of money into this business to keep it going, because we're not going to lose all of our like savings or whatever. And I was like, oh, but I remember being scared. But you know what? We had just started doing the digital stuff with our generalist clients, and it took off. And so God just really blessed us in that. But I had to let some people go at the time, and we were able to bring them back. It was a big celebration. But I remember feeling a lot of uncertainty. One thing that I was really careful about is I did not grow too fast. So this is a business, and we don't have any debt in our business. We bought our building a couple of years ago, and we don't have any debt on it. And so for a small business owner, that has allowed us to grow, because I can always get debt. I can always get a business line of credit if I need it. But the fact that I don't have to have it to make payroll has been a real blessing. And so I didn't really bring on my first employee until about 11 years ago. It was mostly contractors. So we really had a slow growth. But then after 2020, I've often said revenue solves a lot of problems. So if you can get some good revenue in, then you can invest in the company. So once we found the ways to make revenue, that was when the company really took off. But I will say, as a small business owner, I think everyone in your team looks and says, do I have to worry about my job? Do I have to worry about, is she going to be able to make payroll? And so I don't take it lightly that I have 22 livelihoods that are dependent on decisions that I make. So I'm really a lot more thoughtful than the impetuous self that started this business 20 years ago.
I agree with you. There's a burden, and I mean that there's a weight to that.
There is.
And I hope for me personally, and I'm sure you feel the same way, I don't lose that feeling. I think as soon as I do, I've lost why I do this.
Right. That's right.
I think if you genuinely give a crap about the people that work with you and for you, then that'll pass on to your clients. And I want to just rewind for me, because you didn't know everything about marketing when you started this. You've learned so much.
I knew nothing about marketing when I started.
I want to ask you this. I remember for me in video, there was one video we did for Top Tier Roofing in Georgia. I mean this. And we got it back and we edited it. And it was the first time I ever looked at something. I had hired my first guy, Hoffney was his name. And we looked at each other. We're like, this is actually really good. Like, this is something people would pay for, finally. I was like, what the hell? We got something. This might work. I'm curious, did you have like a moment where you go, you know what? I think I got something here. Like, we got this thing on, okay, this is it. I got this thing on lock.
I don't know that I've ever felt like I had anything on lock, especially in the digital space, because everything changes so much. Now with my magazines, and we still have them. In fact, we still have the original one that was our kind of our flagship product. And I still take a lot of pride in that. Even though it doesn't really make a lot of money. It's something that helps our community out, helps new people out. But I remember I had there's been a couple of gutsy moves that I made. And I remember when we talk about HVAC in particular, we
Yeah.
were meeting with a referral agency, like their business coaches for HVAC. And they had like, oh my gosh, 2,000 people in their network, and they had 10 trainers. And we went to Atlanta and sat in their offices, me and my account manager. And they said, well, we use so-and-so, and they've been in the business for a long time. And what are you guys bringing to it? And I said that we are better than they are. And I remember all of the men in that room that kind of went, whoa, like that's kind of a bold statement, but I meant it. I was like, I know their work. And they may have been around for a long time, but they've grown too big for their britches. And I don't think I ever want to get that big, because if we do, it means that we will not be able to do the customer care. And I know everybody's in business, we're always talking about scaling and all those kind of things. But when you start getting into those kind of big scales of, having, 500 clients or whatever, I just don't think that you can give that level of care. I just don't think you can scale the caring part, the digging in part. So, and I do this business also because I really enjoy the people I work with. And I also enjoy the clients that I work with. And so I think I would feel left out on some of those conversations. I really try to sit in. We have, 30 something clients right now. And I try to we sit in on their strategy sessions every month. And I love digging into that kind of stuff. So I don't think I could do that with 300. So I'm not doing that. Yeah.
I'm curious, in a world where, especially in your world with marketing, and my video for me too, I get bombarded with ads within my own industry. I'm sure you do. If you open up an Instagram or Facebook, you see competitors every now and then in their ads.
Oh, yeah.
And it can seem as though, how would I put this, a Rolodex of win after win after win, low CPL, every company is scaling. There's no losses that are out there, basically. And I think that is, even for me, especially beginning, and I think there's got to be maybe somebody else out there, whatever industry they're in, Pam. I'm very interested in this. Do you have times where things haven't gone like you thought they were going to go? And if so, what is your advice of how a business owner should handle those times, if you've had those that have come forward over the years?
There's a lot of times when I have to talk to clients about, hey, this campaign didn't work. We all thought it was going to work. It didn't work. We know that now. And I mean, I think, and then we make mistakes, it didn't launch when it was supposed to, or something didn't happen. And I will tell you that that's one of the reasons why we're not for everybody, because we work in a partnership with our clients. And so they know our heart. They know our drive to bring results. And there's a lot of times when we bring results, but then there's sometimes it's like, it's just an okay month, right? Or we didn't hit it. The first thing we ask in every strategy meeting that we have every month is, how was business? How many installs did you make? How many service calls did you get? How many did you get off this campaign? So we go and say, we have created these campaigns in this world of marketing, but did they actually produce for you? Did they amount to revenue? There was one client that I had, and we did like a $79 tune-up for, and that was losing money. It was in Minnesota. It was a loss leader. And so she agreed to do it. And we said, okay, that's going to be great. And I think we got her like, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 appointments, book jobs where they went in. And so I said, oh, that's great. And she goes, well, it just didn't really make any money. And I said, well, how many upsells did you get? How many installs did you get? How many service calls, how much service work did you end up doing? How many did you sign up for maintenance? And she goes, oh, my techs don't do that. And I thought, I brought you all these great leads and you wasted them. Oh. And that's the part where the relationship has to happen. Like, let's talk about how do you make money, right? Yeah. So like, we're not just in the business of getting you leads. We're in the business of helping you make money. And so we always, so that now I've learned with some of the more, with some of the smaller companies, like we have to talk about that. Okay, so if we do this, this is what we think is going to happen. You should get like 1 in 10 of those should be an install, right? Like what's like 1 in 9.8 are going to be installs. And this is how many are going to be service. So
Right.
are you making sure that you're doing that? Because I'm going to waste your money otherwise.
Yep.
And that was something I learned, and I didn't know I would need to tell a business owner about that. So that was an aha moment for me, that not everybody is thinking about the math involved.
So after all this time now, you've done a lot, you've worked with a lot of clients, you got 30 plus, you inked 5,000. Is there still some part of the job that you enjoy? Like, or are you still like, or is there a certain part you enjoy more than other parts of the job today?
There's a lot of things that I enjoy. I enjoy the people I work with. I'm the only one that drives an hour to work every day. And it's because the energy, like, it's kind of like your group. I have a really young group. They keep me young and they just have all these great ideas. And I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? And they're like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, but I think we could do this. And so I do love that part of my job. Which is why I think I would probably never retire, because I just love it. But I also just love my clients. Like if I'm down, like if I'm feeling, it's one of those days of running a business, right?
Yeah.
Usually when you're looking at the books or something. If I give a client a call and say, hey, what's going on? I'm looking at your dashboard, how are things going? It is digging in and problem solving is probably my most favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I hear you there. Hour into work, you say, right?
Yeah.
What do you do on that? Are you a podcast person? Are you
I
listening?
do. I listen to podcasts. I call my mom. I call my friends. I call people on the way into work a lot,
Right?
and I catch up with them. Yeah. And the bad thing is I do listen to training. I listen to books. I'm a voracious consumer of knowledge.
Yep.
I don't want to be a know-it-all, but I want to go, I never thought of that. I do love some new ways of thinking about stuff.
In the marketing world, I sometimes find myself on the way into work, I'm listening to some marketing podcast about some, I don't know, new strategy that somebody wants to implement. That's the $1 million strategy. In any business, especially with what you do you think at times you can become so inundated with knowledge that it can make you even indecisive? Like, have you ever thought, like, there are so many different ways that I could run campaigns that it just seems like every day you could make a change. Every day there's a new shiny object that you could follow. How do you stay focused on what works and not just go chase those shiny objects that are all over YouTube probably?
So my staff does that. So we my leadership team, every year we have to tell each other something you should start doing and something you should stop doing. And last year I had to, and then you have to write like a statement, and every week at our meeting we have to say what our personal statement is or whatever. And mine was, I was not allowed to chase after shiny objects.
Okay.
Because one of the things that I've noticed about our business, I've tracked it over time, is you'll do some growth, and then you'll kind of stall out. And it seems like every 2 to 3 years we would introduce something new, right? And then you kind of stall out. And so, but with this digital world and all the changes, I was throwing so many things at them. And one person said, I cannot take on another software. Like we can make everything work with this software. Let's do this. And so they kind of held me back. They got caught up, and now it's free reign. No, but it is inundating. But I have found a really good group of trusted professionals in this market that you can bounce ideas, and they'll say, I've done this, it didn't work. So I've really been relying on a lot of other people to say what's worked, not necessarily in the HVAC industry, but just with the tools themselves.
We've talked a little bit about you. I want to turn back to some of the knowledge to try to bring some value to people that are contractors
absolutely.
with internal teams. The guy from, let's say under $1 million in revenue may not be able to afford to hire, you, or may not be able to afford to hire me at this time, but he's trying.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of people, you said it earlier, and I love this, social media is free. To be able to do, to an extent, to post the stuff, to do that. But there's obviously an ads platform behind that. Can you walk me through a little bit of a strategy? I mean, not details, obviously. I know you can't give it all,
I
but
don't mind giving
what
it
kind
all.
of strategy would you have for this person who's just getting started? And do they spend their time posting videos, Pam? I mean, can you just kind of walk us through how you would strategize with that person if you had them just sitting in a room
Absolutely. For
for
the
2 minutes?
person that's not ready for Google ads necessarily
Yeah, yeah.
and
What do
full
they do?
out SEO and all that stuff, right? I would say it's all about that known before needed. That is the biggest thing is they will grow by being known. And so I tell the organic pieces, people sometimes get caught up in the digital space when really they need to be making sure their branding is locked and loaded, that it's on every single piece of anything, every shirt. They should be investing in hats, shirts, things that they would feel comfortable wearing out to the Friday night football game.
Yep.
Anything where and going to, I mean, going to chamber events, being out and about in your community is so important because that's where you're making those personal relationships and that word of mouth, making sure that your truck is wrapped and it looks good. That is your traveling billboard. Leaving a little sign behind, doing a little. I know this is so old fashioned, and a lot of people got away from it, but door hangers like really work. And so, because if I'm in a neighborhood that's 8 or 10 years old, if that's where I live, probably everybody in that neighborhood is going to start having failing HVAC systems. You know, you've seen it, like and even roofs. Like on my street, everybody was getting their roof done because we had hailstorm, or they're all about the same age, and so they all start getting it. So making it easy for someone to call you is really important. So just putting that little, a postcard, business card, a hanger on that door to remind them when they need your help that they can call you. Because I know I do it. If I get something, I'm like, yeah, I need to hold on to this because I got to get some landscaping done at some point. I don't want to do it right this minute, but I saw my neighbors using them, so I'm going to hold on to that. So making sure your branding is locked in, and then we talked about Google Business Profile. That is an easy one. And if you can just add some photos on it every now and then, even if it's once a month, adding some photos, making sure you answer the phone.
There you go. I love that one. Love it.
That is one of the first questions I ask before I'll take a client on. Who's answering the phones? Because I can't tell you, when we first started and we kind of just took anybody, whatever they needed help. We were there to help them, and they didn't answer the phone. And I'm like, we have our system shows the calls and we can listen to the calls. And so sometimes I would tell a business owner, hey, that that person's not answering the calls, or the way they're answering it is not working. You need to go out and listen to this, right? So that's one of the things that we try to do, but make sure you're answering the calls and make sure you're getting Google reviews.
I want to end by having some rapid fire questions to you that are going to be very random. Okay. So I'm going to do 5.
Ready?
Most underrated social media app.
LinkedIn.
Tell me why.
People think that they're just people out there looking for jobs.
All right. Completely different. 6 p.m. on a Saturday. Where can we find Pam?
Usually out to dinner with friends. I don't cook anymore. I just go to eat.
I love it. Okay. Is there like a favorite thing, like a go-to for you?
We go to the lake pretty much every weekend. That's our happy place. And there is a couple of places that we like to eat there, but in the wintertime, it's called Poplar Dogs.
That's what we're talking about. All right. Number 3 of 5, the best piece of advice you have ever received.
The best piece of advice when I was 27 working in manufacturing. And my vice president told me, don't move too fast, because if you move too fast, people are going to get upset and you're going to have to deal with HR issues. So don't move too fast. Think through it.
Who's your favorite client?
Mike Pettit.
There we go. Okay.
He did a great podcast with us too.
Oh, he's great. All right. And my last question for you is you got, let's say, the favorite song that you got out there and you got to listen to it with somebody. Who's your favorite person to listen to music with?
Oh, my husband. Always.
Does he jam out with you?
Yeah, he does. He
Let's go.
always does have music on. Yeah, no, my husband and I met when we were 18, And we have been married 35 years.
That's
He
so
is a great
beautiful.
guy. He's my rock.
That's awesome. What does he do?
He is an engineer, works in manufacturing. Yep. And pharmaceutical manufacturing. And yeah, we met at Georgia Tech when we were
Look at
18.
that.
2 weeks into college, we met.
That is so beautiful.
Isn't
That's
that
so
crazy?
awesome. It is. It is.
Yeah. So we kind of grew up together.
Yeah, well, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the engagement side right now. I waited a little bit later in life.
Nothing wrong with that.
So yeah, so I'm in that portion of my life right now, trying to enjoy that small gap of time that you have right here between that and marriage. And so I'm trying to enjoy that right now.
Yeah. Well, we dated for 4.5 years before we got married. So nothing wrong with that.
I appreciate that. We go. So that's what I'm in right now. For those who are listening, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Obviously, they're going to want to do business with you. We already saw there's a client who we can get you right now.
I know. You're so great. Thank you.
So yeah, of course. What's the best way for someone to have a conversation with you or your team? Okay.
Pam, it's easy. Pam at exploremedia.com.
Great.
And my phone number is 334-525-5669.
You are awesome.
And that comes directly to me. So I have a lot of people that I work with, a lot of smart people. But yeah, if they hear this podcast, I'd love to talk to them.
I know they will. And I'm sure we can get some of our contractors that are going to be like, hey, you know what? I should be working with Pam. That's great. Okay, great. Let's make it happen. So
awesome. We've got contractors that I'm trying to get to work with you guys. So I am all about Blue Collar Media Group.
The feeling is definitely mutual. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon, everybody. Until next time.